What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, and today, guys, we are here for World's Biggest Collectors, episode 57, the show where we bring on the biggest physical media collectors in the YouTube and social media spaces. And today, I have a very special guest, Mark from Tales from the Shelf, will be joining me here today to talk about movies, physical media, his collection, the art of curating his collection. He's recently gotten into collection curation, and we have a good conversation about that and how that's evolved over time and how he picks and chooses which releases that he's going to get, what he chooses to sell off. Really interesting conversation. He shows a lot of restraint for sure with his collecting. So we get into that back and forth as well, because obviously I do not. So really good conversation with Mark from Tales from the Shelf. I recommend that you subscribe to his channel. Follow him on Instagram. All those links will be down below in the description. Mark's a massive horror fan, so we have fun talking about the genre as well. But just a great conversation. Mark's a great dude. I cannot wait for you to watch this episode 57. Let's go. What is up, everybody? Welcome to World's Biggest Collectors, episode 57. I got my buddy Mark from Tales from the Shelf here with me tonight. What's going on, Mark? How you doing?
I'm good, man.
I'm saying tonight because it is night right now, but when I put this out, it'll probably be in the day. This afternoon, correct. We'll say that.
At the time of this recording, I've just gotten home from work about an hour ago, and
nice.
I'm winding down with a yacht of Dr. Pepper for this.
Nice. Are you going to put anything in that Dr. Pepper?
No, not tonight.
Okay.
No, I'm just chilling for you guys. Yeah.
Well, Mark, I'm happy to have you here. I don't think I know you've been on a couple roundtables, but I don't think I've talked to you, one-on-one ever.
No.
And that was like, I think at the beginning of the year, wasn't it? Wasn't it like back in January or something?
So yeah, you had me on in October for the October roundtable of last year, and then you had me back for December's roundtable. Which were both awesome, by the way. Those are both great.
Yeah.
But this would be our first time really chopping it up one-on-one. So nice, I'm excited to be here, man.
I appreciate you coming on, and I will definitely be, linking your Instagram and your channel and whatever social media stuff you got down below in the description. So everybody, I encourage you to follow and subscribe to Mark from Tales from the Shelf. You do some great stuff over there, man. Your videos are top tier, very well produced. It's it's a higher level of quality than people that are here.
Well, that's all relative, right? I mean, it's totally different. It's like comparing apples and oranges, I appreciate that though, man.
I definitely encourage everybody to go subscribe to Mark's channel. You do some good stuff. You're not you're consistent with your content, but you don't, flood people's feeds. You take your time. You're more methodical with your approach, but you do some good stuff. You do good work.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's hard, especially right now in the summertime. My job is very busy in the summer, so it's hard to really keep things consistent. But with fall right around the corner, that's like my favorite time of year. I have a lot of ideas for some like longer form stuff that I'm gonna start working on here probably in like early September. So
nice.
That's really when I'm planning to really up the output and make some really cool stuff for the Halloween. I got ideas for that, Christmas, like stuff like that. So yeah,
it always gets exciting when it gets to this time of the year. Halloween season is upon us, and I think when this episode drops, it will probably be September. Maybe it might be late August, but we're getting ready to get into September, or we're already in September,
right? Yeah. So we could time travel kind of by the time this comes out. We'll be able to.
We can time travel. But Mark, man, you've been on Instagram for a little bit. When did you dive into YouTube?
It would have been October. It was late October. As a matter of fact, the first video came out the night of the October roundtable. So
I remember that. I actually do remember that.
Yeah.
You dropped your first video then.
So we're coming up on a year now, and it's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about making like a video, like one things I learned after 1 year on YouTube, something like that, which would be a fun video to make because you really don't have to do a ton of work for it. You just kind of get to talk and speak about your experiences and stuff. So that's something I might do. But yeah, dude, coming up on a year now. It's been wild.
Well, we kind of had similar paths, I would say, because I also started, on Instagram, just posting photos and
yeah,
doing cinematic shots and stuff. Do you remember when you first started following me? Or
oh man,
I feel like I was following your account for a while before you started your channel.
So in like 2018, I made my first Instagram page, which I'm not active on anymore, and it was called Perfect Posters. And I got the idea from this other account called Masters of Cinema. And you know how on Instagram they
I
have
think I remember that name.
You remember? So on Instagram the grid is like 3x3 and stuff. So the guy would always post it was screenshots from different movies, but they were all the same color. So as you would scroll down, it would be like, the same colors going. And it was like, so I took that approach and applied it to posters, movie posters, where you can still go on this account. It's perfect_posters. And it was just all movie posters that looked similar or were the same colors. Yeah. And so I was on there for a little while, and that's really where I met a lot of the people that I connected with now on my current account, Tales from the Shelf. But I found that account to be pretty limiting because I couldn't quite post the stuff that I really liked, which was my collection, because I had to keep the grid all the same with like the posters and whatnot. And so I quickly, not quickly, I might have used that account for like a year and a half or so, and then I created Tales from the Shelf in August of 2019, and you might have been one of the first people I followed. I can't really remember.
Was it because I have 2 Instagram accounts too. I started on there as mid-level movie reviews, and I had an account where I would review movies, and I also showed off my collection and stuff. I kind of just did it. I was very sloppy with my account, but
yeah.
I remember doing those kind of posts as well, though, because I saw people doing that. I thought it was cool. Like I would try to get like the same like color scheme from different images from movies. I remember doing that back in the day.
No, it was fun, and it was fun to like find posters that was like, oh, this poster looks like this poster, and I did a lot of them. And it encouraged me to get like creative and stuff. But it was fun, but it kind of ran its course. And then like my current account, I was inspired by just like all the collectors that I saw, and that's really what kind of got me into collecting. This was all happening right around the same time, like late 2018, early 2019. I was joining like different Facebook groups where people were sharing like boutique Blu-rays, and I didn't know what a boutique Blu-ray was.
And all that was in 2019.
Yeah, it would have been around then because I didn't start collecting seriously. I've always had movies and stuff my whole life, VHS and DVDs and all that, but I didn't start really collecting Blu-rays until 2018. And that's kind of when this all started to slowly snowball.
We're very similar then, because I got into it maybe a year before that, 2017. And I didn't really start learning about the labels until 2018, 2019.
Yeah, I remember I used my sister's Amazon Prime account so that I could start like buying Blu-rays and stuff, because I wanted to like get all my favorite horror movies. That was like the first thing I did. Yeah. And I bought like Killer Clowns from Outer Space was pretty early on. And it showed up, and it was like, that was the first Arrow Video title I ever had.
And you got it with like the slipcover and everything too?
Yeah, which was surprising. And at the time, I didn't realize how kind of cool that would be to have the slipcover. But I'm like looking at the packaging, I'm like, this is pretty sweet. I'm like, oh, Arrow Video, what's that? And then you start to realize.
Good thing you weren't like, what's this useless piece of cardboard? Just threw it in the trash.
No, but it was cool, and it was like, but it's like it snowballs, man. You're like, oh, I want more of these because they look cool next to each other on the shelf, And I started looking up like what other titles Arrow Video had, and I was like, oh, there's Scream Factory, and it was just overwhelming.
Yeah. So you discovered Arrow first. I feel like I discovered Scream and Arrow and Criterion around the same time, but I'm pretty sure it was Scream Factory first with the Silent Night, Deadly Night that I saw at Walmart.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And it started this similar way. I was just like, I want to collect the horror movies I remember watching when I was a kid, and House was one of them. I remember watching House and House 2. So I looked those up on Amazon and saw they had Arrow Video editions and with nice artwork. And I was like, what's this?
Yeah. And, I mean, it catches your attention right away because you're like, this isn't the poster art, or like it's not usually the theatrical poster art,
Yeah.
but it's like hand drawn, like really cool illustrations, and you're like, oh, that's interesting. What's this all about?
And around the same time, I was on Instagram, and because when I first got into it, I was like, oh, I'm doing something really just like unique and different and new. Like, I'm going to get on Instagram and post like posters and write my thoughts on movies. Nobody reviews movies on Instagram. And then you get into it and discover that there's like thousands of people doing the same thing.
A lot of people.
And then you start to fall into the people showing off their collection and those kind of pages and stuff. And that's when, you know, like you, I'd always bought DVDs and hadn't really gotten into Blu-ray very heavy at that point. I was still kind of on DVD. But I was like, damn, this stuff's cool that they're showing off. And it kind of hooks you into it and to the world of collecting. And, you know, I was definitely hooked after that, getting all this stuff. And Walmart was doing some really cool slipcovers at the time too that I was getting. And I didn't even care if it was DVD. Back then I would get DVDs and Blu-rays together.
Yeah, I think I was turned to the Blu-ray side pretty quick. Because I was discovering a lot of YouTube channels as well. You know, I don't know if this would have been around when you were making content in this space, but I probably discovered like Films at Home at this point. Yeah. And so
he was really ramping up, I think, in 2019.
Yeah. No, that sounds right. And so sort of the idea of having a large, like a collection of movies and having them be on Blu-ray specifically was kind of, those two things seemed like they were like kind of intertwined. Yeah. There was never any question like, okay, this is clearly better than DVD. And you know, and it's, you know, something I think about is it's like, when did the first DVD come out? Like 1990 something? Like,
you know, I remember from my memory, it was 2000 that we got our first DVD player, but I'm pretty sure the people were getting DVDs back in 96.
Right.
But I don't remember hearing nothing about DVDs in 96. So it must have been like people that were really in the know with like the new technology.
Well, they would have been expensive back then too. So
because Twister was apparently the first DVD. So that movie came out in 96. So I think when the VHS came out, the DVD also came out.
Okay.
So that would have been in 96. But I didn't feel like I heard anybody talking about it until 2000, and people started getting them in their homes.
I guess maybe they were just waiting to see if it was gonna like take off or not. But yeah, I mean the DVD is like an over 20-year-old technology, so it's like, I know it's over like 50% of the market share still.
Yeah, still.
But for me, it was never. It was like, okay, well we've moved past this now. Yeah, I never really got.
For me, like I always loved movies, but I was really into gaming for a long time, and I really cared about my gaming. My games needed to be in HD. You know, I had the plasma 42 inch is what I had at the time, which I actually still have over there. So my games had to be in HD, but my movies, I didn't care so much. I could get them on DVD. It was a little cheaper. I was watching a lot of comedies and some horror movies at that time, and my thought process was like, these movies don't really need, you know, any better quality. And horror movies actually work better, you know, with DVD lower quality. It's scarier, right?
Yeah.
You know, taking me back to the VHS days. I don't think that way now.
Yeah.
But that's what I thought, you know, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, and it's funny because I thought the same thing, and then, you know, my mom will be like, because she knows I collect and stuff, and she watches like my YouTube channel, and she'll be like, oh, did you watch your new DVDs yet? And I'm like, Mom, they're called Blu-rays.
They're called Blu-rays, Mom.
Come on, get it right. But I was not too different, you know, not long ago. You know, I don't know that I knew what a Bluray was. I mean, I knew it
like when your parents back in the day, when you got a new gaming console, they would
call it Nintendo.
Yeah. It's Nintendo every time.
Oh, it's always Nintendo. But no, you and me, we were chatting one day on Instagram about the games too, because I was pretty big into it at one point. I was like an achievement hunter though. I was always you probably did that as well, but
I did, but I would not devote, you know, hundreds of hours into getting 100%.
Yeah.
I knew people like that, but I always wanted to move on to the next game. So if I could get like 700-800 out of 1,000, I'd be good, and then I'd move on to the next game. For me, it was more about like the experience of playing as many games as I possibly could. But there were certain games like Modern Warfare that I got all the achievements on. I had to get that Mile High Club.
Yeah, that one was tough. That's a tough one.
But
Yeah,
you
I
were
was.
probably better at games than I was, so I'm sure you got a
I mean, it's
1,000. It would literally take me, like, so many tries. Like, it would be impossible for me to try to do some of these things that they were asking for.
it's debatable. I mean, it depends on the game, but I
Yeah.
played a ton of crap that was like, I played like Disney Pixar's Up, which is
Yeah.
just like a little kid game.
My brother-in-law used to do that kinda stuff. Avatar,
Yeah,
I think, was the game that you could get 1,000 points just
yeah,
doing,
that
like,
one takes
a
like
kick or something.
that one's a famous one because it literally only takes 30
Yeah.
seconds.
I would never do it,
Yeah,
because
I
you would
couldn't
always look at
resist.
the account's gamer score and you'd be like, "Where's Avatar, you punk?"
Yeah, there's a lot of games like that, man, where it was like easy gamer score, and I
Yeah.
would always look those ones up. And I belonged to some websites back in the day, all through like middle school and high school, because that's when I was most actively like into that. Was back in those days. Um,
Yeah.
and there was a lot of websites you could go on. I was actually part of like a group, and we would have like a rotation where like you would play like there was like a rotation where these games, I don't know who bought them, but you could put your name on this list and they would send you the easy achievement game in the mail, and then you could get the achievements for it, and then when you're done you send it to the next guy, and it was like a thing that you could do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how deep into it. I'm not into anywhere near that now. I mostly just play
No.
games.
I haven't gotten an achievement unlocked in a long time.
Yeah, I
Long
don't care
time.
about it much anymore. I still have my same account though that I've always had for like 13 years now. So that's cool.
Yeah.
I've never had to like restart my gamer tag or anything like that.
Yeah, I gave mine to my daughter, actually. She changed the name, so now she's
Uh,
rocking my 110,000 gamer score on
oh
her
wow,
name.
that's pretty cool. Thanks. Okay, I have 140. I wasn't sure what you have, but that's awesome, dude. We're like pretty close to each other.
Yeah, it took me, 10 years probably to do that because I got the
Hmm.
360 in 2006, and then it was
Yeah.
2014, 2015 is when I really started winding down playing games.
Yeah, it just kind of
Um,
got old, you know. It was like it was just a grind, you know. Like you said, I just like to enjoy the games now. I don't really pay attention to the achievement list or anything like that anymore. I
yeah.
just enjoy the game.
Well,
And
some of the games that just ask you to do, like, it's one thing to, ask something that requires skill, but some of them would just ask you to do stuff that required a lot of your time and
so
just
much
grind,
time.
like kill, I think it was on Dead Rising, 54,000 zombies or
Yeah,
something.
a lot of games had achievements like that. You know,
Left 4 Dead had that,
yeah,
and,
Gears of War 2 had
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, just
Wasn't
stuff
Gears of
that
War 2 like 100,000 or
I
something?
think it was 50,000. It was like seriously 2.0 was the achievement.
Yeah, I was
Um,
like, "You sons of bitches, I ain't doing this."
yeah,
But my
nice.
brother-in-law, he was all over all of them. He would literally, like, tape his controller when he went to bed, so it would, like,
I've heard
fire.
of that.
He had
Yeah,
this glitch on Left 4 Dead where he would tape his controller and it would fire into the stairway as the zombie horde came up,
yeah.
and that's how he
I
would get
probably
it.
did the same thing if I'm being honest. We're going back like over a decade now, but yeah,
Yeah,
dude,
it's
the
funny
Left
stuff.
4 Dead games were hard to complete. I did both of them.
Oh, I loved 'em. Well, those were like, it was a game that I got and I thought it was okay, but I was like, "What's the fun of this?" Because it's not fun playing solo. It's not
No,
designed for that. You're
not
supposed
at
to have a
all.
team of 4
Yeah,
online
your friends ideally.
cooperatively, and when I did that and we were all playing together, like, I just had the best time,
Oh, it's like a whole new
playing that game.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, such a fun game. But Mark, let's get back into movies and
Yeah, that
collecting
was
and
movie.
stuff, and
Yeah.
we'll, um go back to the beginning where it all started for you and collecting. Well, where did you, get this collecting, mindset? Is that something that just happened in 2019 or did you have it for other stuff when you were younger?
So, I think it was like it sort of seeped its way into my brain from an early age because my mom, in the living room, there was this big bookshelf growing up, and it was filled with all her books, and it was like VC Andrews, Dean Koontz, John Grisham, Stephen King, obviously.
Yeah.
And back in those days, books had like the standout font, and there was like these really cool illustrations on them. I'd always take the book off and like look at the dust jacket and all the artwork and stuff. And I just always was drawn to that stuff. And I even wound up reading a couple of those books really when I was really young, which I shouldn't have been because they're not for kids. But
Yeah.
that's how into it I was because I was just drawn into it. And then uh, later in life, my stepdad, I would go visit him in Pennsylvania, and he used to have this service where he would, it's totally illegal. He would go to Blockbuster and he would burn the movies, the DVDs that he would rent, and then he would like make copies of them and like sell them to his coworkers, whole thing. But he had a huge wall in his.
I knew people like that. I knew a few people like
It
that.
was, I think, it
worked.
was just a super profitable thing back then because,
Yeah.
you know, he had a Blockbuster membership. He's just getting these movies anyway, and then he'd rip them and he would print out artwork. He did it legit.
Yeah,
but he had
I remember
shelf.
that we had a couple of people at work that did that.
So he had a huge shelf, and it was all just bootleg movies, all bootleg DVDs. But the fact remains that he had these big shelves with all these spines and all these titles. And every time I'd go visit him, I would, you know, pick out a movie. And I think I just, from an early age, I really like, you know, gravitated towards that. Yeah. And then it didn't really manifest itself in my own experience until 2018, 2019, where I started to have my own space a little bit more. I had more financial freedom. And then I was getting into the right spaces online, and it all just kind of coalesced at the right time for me to kind of get into it in a big way.
Did you ever have any kind of, you know, VHS or DVD collection when you were younger, or was it just that was the family collection? It wasn't really yours. It was.
No, I mean, I would say a lot of them were mine. I have a.
You still have a lot of it?
No, this isn't my original. These were the ones I had, but I got these at a yard sale like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I found the exact set still wrapped at the Goodwill.
Oh, like nice!
$15 a few years ago, so I grabbed it.
But yeah,
I had the special editions when I was growing up.
Oh, you had the special editions?
Yeah. In the gold, I think it was the gold case with Darth Vader. I think there was a gold, and I think there was a silver one.
Yeah, I think one was like widescreen and one was full screen or something.
Yeah, I think so.
But we just had these big totes in my basement, and they were just filled with VHS tapes. A lot of them didn't have cases. I think they must have gotten destroyed or something. But yeah, and we would have, as well as that, we would have movies burned onto
taped over.
Yeah, taped over. I had one that had like Silver Bullet and some other movie I can't remember, and I would watch like. I'd watch like Silver Bullet, and then you'd have to fast forward through the commercials every time the commercials would come on, because they were taping it off it was playing on TV at the time.
I don't think my grandma, my aunts, I don't think I ever saw a legit VHS tape at their house. Like you would open up the cabinets, and they would all be tapes with writing on the side of 3 movies on each one. They went to Blockbuster every single week, and they had 2 VCRs, and they taped them.
That's just how it was back then with VHS and DVDs. People were, you know, trying to game the system.
We're bad with bootlegs now. Like shit, everybody I knew in the 90s had those tapes.
It was like, what's the big deal now? You know, it's like, you know, obviously I prefer to buy something official, but it's just how it was back then. It seems like everybody was doing that. So
yeah, for sure. So you started, you know, more legitimately building your collection in 2018, 2019. How has that kind of evolved since you started? Did you get into it pretty hot and heavy? And how did that evolve, take shape over the past 5 years?
It's been a journey. So like I was saying, I was so inspired by all the cool like collections I saw. And I think right out of the gate, my goal was just to build up a large collection of Blu-rays. Yeah. And what happened was I wound up buying a lot of stuff that I didn't really want or need. I just wanted to have it because I wanted to build up that collection. So I would go to like Dollar General. I was buying stuff there. I'd go to like Big Lots and buy a bunch of stuff there. And granted, I have found really good stuff there that I still have kept.
Now you bring up Dollar General. Did you ever participate in that glitch sale that they had? Do you remember that?
No, I never even heard about that.
It was supposed to be 2 for $5, but they accidentally cut it further, so it ended up being like 4 for $5, and every movie was $1.25. The Blu-rays.
Oh wow!
And I bought like 100 during that time.
Holy crap!
There was some good stuff. Dollar General used to have. They still have some good stuff from time to time, but I bought.
No, they actually do.
They don't really replenish their stock at mine.
No,
that I go to anymore.
Hardly ever, which was very frustrating.
Like every month they would have new stock and new stuff in. And I got some really good movies during that time of the Dollar General.
For sure. That's where I found Goodfellas. I found Spider-Man 3 there. I found
Yeah.
Lost in Space, the 90s one.
I think I got that.
I
That was one
found
I found multiple times and kept putting it back, but then I
yeah.
finally got it. I think.
That was a childhood favorite of mine, so I definitely grabbed that.
Yeah, I love
I
that movie.
found like Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal. I found a ton of great stuff, but then I
Yeah.
also bought a bunch of stuff that since I've gotten rid of because it was taking up space. Like I said, I have a sort of a finite amount of room in here, so I've kind of made up like a sort of this arbitrary number. I'm at like 1,000 titles right now, roughly speaking, and that's sort of where I think I like to be.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to continue to buy new stuff, like the stuff that comes out that's interesting to me. But for the most part, I'm always looking to keep things slim. That's just what works for me. And I think it's like it's good to challenge yourself and be like, do I actually really need this movie, or would this space on the shelf be better served, if I just kind of got rid of it and sell it on
So you're
eBay, whatever you
going
got to
for
do.
the kind of curation aspect of it.
Big time.
Trying to, make sure that only the movies that you really love and need are in your collection.
Yeah, and that's just what's right for me
Sometimes
now.
it takes a while to get to that point because when you're just starting, you're just buying everything that you love, and
Yeah,
a lot of movies you probably love.
I recently talked about this in a video of mine, but one of the first things people do when they get into collecting is they start buying up all their favorite movies, and you reach a certain point where you've got them all. I like to think we probably have a lot of our favorite movies already. If there's blind spots, there's not many at this point. So once you've reached that
Surprisingly,
point,
like my biggest gaps are like all the comedies that I loved when I was a kid. I don't have a lot of those, and I'm trying to build that up a little bit. Like I don't even have the Ace Ventura movies. It's like I love those movies growing up.
I don't have those either,
but I don't have them.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to work on that. But you get so focused on like collecting for horror.
Yeah,
and physical
that was a
media
big one.
because that's all the cool editions. They don't do cool editions for comedies. I wish they did.
No, not
but
really.
They don't.
No, comedy sort of feels a little bit more like this can wait. I'll get that one eventually. It's not going anywhere. But with the horror,
$5 on Groove.
Groove is a perfect example. Yeah, like movies like Forgetting Sarah Marshall and Knocked Up and movies like that were big for me when I was in like high school and stuff. But just I would like to own them. Just I've never made it a priority the way I have like other genres.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's interesting. I admire your restraints because at this point I have none.
It's
and it does take a lot of restraint.
Yeah.
Because at this point it's just like my eyes are just on everything that's coming out, and I feel like I need it all. But also that kind of goes into
it's
the channel
all,
as well.
Yeah,
and what I
those
do.
things go hand in hand. Everybody's situation is different. That's the thing I try to repeat as many times when I talk about this stuff on my channel, which I don't do super often, but when I do, I always try to preface it by saying, I don't have a whole house to spread out into. I have a certain amount of room, and that's what I get to, that's where I get to put my stuff.
Yeah.
So,
and I can guarantee that there's a lot of people that's probably watching this right now that can relate to the things that you're saying.
For sure. But it's like everyone's situation is different. If I had my own home, there's no telling, how far out this stuff would stretch into multiple rooms, the living room, and that day will come soon. But, for now, this is what works for me. And it helps with budgeting. And I actually I got it right here. I keep a log where I write down how much I spend on physical media every month. And by the end of this year, I'll be able to tell you pretty much to a T exactly what I spent.
Are you still buying stuff regularly?
Not as much as I have.
Because you say that you're at 1,000 movies and that's where you want to stay. So does that mean that you go some weeks, months without picking anything up? Or does it just depends or varies?
It just depends on, like, sometimes a month will come when it has a lot of releases that I want to get. And then other times I'll check Blu-ray.com. I'll look at the upcoming releases and I'm like, nothing there that I want. And then I don't go to Best Buy that week.
Do you
So
start looking at your collection to decide like, okay, what's potentially leaving the collection to make room for this? Is
no,
it that kind of thing, or
it's not that severe. Like I said, that number is kind of arbitrary. It
yeah,
really just means I could never go to like 1,500 or 2,000. But as
yeah,
long as I'm in that 1,000 to 1,500 kind of range, is where it's what I
you
can.
just don't want to get where you're stacking movies in your bathroom and
Yeah, because
all over your countertop,
yeah,
kitchen table.
I think about the day when I eventually move out of here. I live with my sister right now,
Yeah,
but eventually the day will come when I move out of here and get my own place pretty soon. And I think about it, how much it's going to be to move all this stuff, because not only do I have a ton of movies, but I've got a ton of books, video games, and that kind of thing. So
yeah,
I try to keep that stuff into account, and all of that sort of serves to help keep me accountable and say, yeah, do you really? And I don't think about that, like when I say I don't think about when I have to move. That's not like a huge factor, because that's first and foremost. I think about whether I want to own the movie or not, and then all that
yeah,
other stuff is kind of secondary. Sorry,
yeah.
that was a long-winded way of
No,
saying.
no, man, that's great stuff. Great stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm sure there's a lot of people that would relate to that. Now, if you could you see yourself like potential if you move out, say you move out, you get a bigger
Mhm.
space, you got a lot of room to play with. Could you see yourself being tempted to get back into that I need it all mentality that you
No, I
maybe
don't.
had at the beginning, or do you think that you're pretty satisfied and
No,
settled in your ways?
I think I'm pretty good with where I'm at now. I sort of like the idea of being sort of quality over quantity kind of thing, where
Yeah,
my collection can just better reflect my tastes, and it's more manageable. And I sort of enjoy the process of curation. Kind of like as we age, we sort of, something you liked, you might not like something now that you did like 5 years ago. And so that's about how long I've been doing this. So I'm kind of at that point where, I look at things that I bought in the very beginning and I'm like, I would never buy this now. I have this
yeah.
now, but if I was just starting now, I would never buy this. So I enjoy that
For me,
process.
those are all my Dollar Tree titles in the bin in the
Yeah.
closet.
And I've actually sold some stuff on eBay and stuff, and it's helped to fund purchases to buy new things. And I
Yeah.
kind of enjoy that whole process of keeping things current and like up to date. Like this is my sort of collection as it stands in 2023. Excuse
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. And I just have a hard time letting stuff go. I love going back and
I understand.
looking at a cool DVD edition or a Blu-ray edition. It's like the
Yeah.
Creep Show 4K came out and I got it on 4K.
Same.
It's like I can't let that box set go.
Oh
It's like
no, the Scream
that
Factory
was a
one?
cool ass box set. It's just stuff like that, but it's not even always that. Sometimes I'll at the beginning of the year, I was like, okay, I'm going to really try to get into curating a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I took 200 movies out of my collection.
I
They're
saw
still,
that. I remember when you did that.
they're still sitting in a box over there,
Well,
Mark. I haven't got rid of them yet.
but
And
the
I
thing is, they're in the
can't bring
box
myself.
now. They're in the box, and that's important. Let's not downplay it.
I did get rid of a few things because I think KB reached out to me. A couple other people reached out to me, and I sent them the stuff that they wanted.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I kind of things are getting scary now with physical media and movies, and people are
Yeah.
censoring stuff or whatever, altering the movies, and
Yeah.
it's like I would hate to think that I got a copy of a movie in there that could be altered, and then it's sold out, and then it gets jacked up to like $200, and so one of my friends in need can't get it. And maybe I have it, and maybe I can give it to him.
Right.
So I started thinking about all that stuff, but that's a dangerous thought process to be in. That's where the hoarding. That's where
Well,
the people that hoard
yeah,
are in that kind of mentality,
but
and I think about that as well.
if push ever came to shove, I'm sure you could get rid of that stuff, no problem. And
Yeah, I could.
you don't have to right now. So why do it? Until you really
Yeah.
need to, which is totally acceptable. If you have space for it, it's not like in your kids' bedrooms or something like that.
No, I got the basement to play
Yeah,
around with,
exactly.
and
So
I try to keep it in this room though. I don't want to move it out into like the living
right,
room area because then my wife would be like, "What's all this shit doing out here?"
right. That's a huge thing. I'm sure a ton of collectors deal with that.
But yeah, she
The
tells me every day,
significant
she's like,
other.
"You don't need all that crap." And I'm like, yeah, you're kind of right. And I do sit around sometimes and I'll be like browsing for the next Blu-ray or 4K I need to buy and looking at sales. And then I'm just like, what the hell is going on? I'll just look around and be like, all these movies on this shelf that I haven't watched yet. Why am I looking for new stuff when I
Yeah,
have all this stuff that I
that's
haven't
a
even watched yet?
that's a big one for me, where it's like the Kino sale
Like, I
that
get
just went
excited for
by.
the Kino sale and I'm like, I just got 15 Kino titles 3 months ago that I haven't
Un
watched yet.
Unwatched. I'm the
What am I
same way.
doing?
So it's like, and I challenge myself to just be like, have you watched all of your Criterions? And I almost have. I think I've got like 3 or 4 I haven't watched.
Yeah.
But it's like, why are you buying more Criterions if you haven't watched those other ones? And same with Kino. So I really do try to think about it in terms of like, am I going to watch this as soon as it comes in the mail? And am I going to be excited to watch it?
Yeah.
And that's kind of helped me too, kind of to decide what to get and what not to get.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it does get like that. You're just like, what am I doing? There are certain labels I watch pretty much everyone I get in, like Scream Factory I generally watch.
yeah,
Because
you're
I'm a
on
horror fan. I love watching horror movies. So
same.
when I get those in, I usually watch them immediately. Aerial video stuff I usually watch. I'm pretty good at watching that stuff.
Same.
But yeah, the Kinos and the Criterions and the more artsy films I have trouble getting to. The
Well,
legitimate classics, I guess.
because you're not always in the mood to watch a movie like that. You kind of
Yeah.
have to adjust your mindset when you sit down for a movie like that, because it's kind of an experience. It's like 2 hours of this sort of highbrow whatever, and then but I'm always in the mood to watch like Creepshow. So those I
Yeah.
have no problem taking off the shelf and putting in the player, and like, I don't even think about it. With those other movies, I kind of tend to do this a little bit and think about it, and I'm like, oh, is this how I want to spend the next 2 hours?
Yeah.
I'm sure you know better than me. Your time is very valuable. You have
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
realistically, I've only got the time to watch maybe 6 to 7 movies in a week,
yeah,
sometimes more and oftentimes less.
right,
So if
for
you think
sure.
of it like that, and I try to watch, I try to make it my goal to watch whatever days there are in the month. That's how many movies I want to watch. I want to do an average of one a day.
Same.
Most of the time, it's a little bit less than that. But it's like
Yeah,
I got so much stuff to watch, and sometimes I want to rewatch something, but I'm
that's
like,
the other thing.
I can't. I got so much stuff I haven't
I
watched yet for
am
the
the
first
same way.
time, so I
I'm
got to
sure
get to
it's like
that.
everyone's that like that, where it's like, man, I'd really love to just unwind and watch, Dumb and Dumber tonight, but I've got all
Yeah,
these other movies that I should be watching because I've never seen them, and there's no excuse for me to not have seen them because they're literally sitting on the shelf. You
yeah.
know,
I'm like, oh, Superbad's on Netflix again. Let
like,
me just
yeah,
watch that while I
I can
just
watch
chill out
that.
on my phone and hang out
Exactly,
and just
exactly.
relax. And
So,
tonight I've got the. It's funny how you said wanting to watch a heavier movie, like when you just want to wind down,
mhm.
or not wanting to watch one. I've got the dilemma tonight. Do I watch Replicator, the new Visual Vengeance release, or do I watch Roman Holiday with Audrey Hepburn on 4K? And I
Those
have
could
a
not be
feeling,
more. Those could not be more different.
I'm going to go for Replicator
I would
tonight
not
because
blame you.
when I get done with this, I did the physical media report today. I did a stream with my wife. I'm doing this right now. My brain is just kind of wore out, and I'm like,
Yeah,
I just want to chill and watch a stupid movie about something that looks like Gex the
yeah. I
gecko.
was gonna say it kind of looks like
Dude,
Gex.
I have no idea what the hell this is.
So, so does
But
that affect you? Because I'm sure if you were to make a poll, your Roman Holiday review would probably get more views than your Replicator
mhm.
review. So, or
I
if you
don't
would even,
know.
if
I
you
feel like it would be a toss up with those two,
okay,
to
you
be
think so?
honest.
Do you tend to try to say, all right, whatever the hottest release is the one clearly I want to get that one out sooner than other stuff?
I do. There's certain movies that I just have no interest in, and if I have no interest in it, then I'm not going to review it.
That's
But
what's yeah.
even if I know it would do probably really well,
I respect
so
that.
I have to at least have an interest in it. But yeah, I do try to prioritize the ones that I feel like the most people would enjoy. I need to do more polls like that though to kind of gauge
Oh yeah,
the
that would be
audience for
interesting to do.
sure.
Like of all the new ones coming out this week, which one do you want to
Yeah.
see?
But I also like to, because I get stuff in for review. Like they sent me Replicator, and
Right.
so I feel kind of an obligation to give those some special attention. And
For
if it's
sure.
a release that I really like, even if I don't think it's going to get that many views, I like to still cover it. because I
Yeah,
like to put the spotlight on it and maybe show it to somebody that wouldn't
have
know
seen it
about it
otherwise.
otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean to imply that it was like all about views for you, but just in terms of like how do you prioritize what to watch first? Because then obviously once you
Yeah.
watch it, that's when you do the review, So
Yeah. No, I mean, it's obviously you're always trying to figure out what's going to get you, the views and attention and,
sure.
and stuff on YouTube. And anybody that says they're not is not
Yeah, that
being
would be
honest.
disingenuous. Yeah, but it's got
But
to
there
have
are times where I do a video and I'm like, I know this isn't going to hit, but I just want to do it.
right. The
Um,
passion's got to be there on some
yeah,
level.
you have to have those mixed in with the ones that you feel an obligation to do. But
Like
I, I
one for me, one
really,
for them.
I really try to not make it an obligation thing. And most of the stuff that I do review or talk about is stuff that I do want to talk about. The most stressful video I do every week is on Monday. And it's not that I don't enjoy doing it, but it's just so much information
A
that I
lot
got
of
to
work, I'm sure.
compile together and get out. And it's a very long process. I enjoy it. I get excited about it, but it's
I'm sure you're so excited when it's done, though. You can just relax and
when it's done, I've got
it's up in there. It's out there. I don't have to worry about this for another week.
and then I'm just like, now I just got to figure out what I'm doing the rest of the week. Oh, I got Replicator on Blu-ray. Let's talk about that.
I mean, you're incredibly consistent, man. Like one a days for how many years? I mean, it's something to
It's
be said
yeah,
for
and
that.
it's 3 years now. I'd
Yeah,
say since
that's very
2020,
impressive.
I pretty much got consistent with one a day, and I rarely miss a day. I feel like my time's drawing to a close though, and I might go down to like 3 a day here
Yeah,
next year. So
I wouldn't,
I probably won't because I very goal oriented. I see the
Mhm.
next goal and the next goal, and it's like I can't pump the brakes now. You'll
Oh
lose all
no,
momentum. So I
not
just
when
want to
you're this
keep.
close to 20K,
I
man.
just want to keep rolling it and
That's huge
seeing
too. Congrats
what
on
I can do.
19, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it, and
Yeah,
obviously, like I wouldn't feel the passion to keep going on YouTube if I didn't have the incredible amount of support that I do. I'm very fortunate for having the people watch that I do, so I always appreciate
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um, it's a very cliche thing to say, but I honestly would not be here if it wasn't for the people that watched. I would
Look,
be doing something else.
this community in particular, in this corner of YouTube that we're in, is so loyal and just willing to leave a nice comment or a like, and like just so much more so than I feel like other sort of genres of YouTube.
Yeah,
They're all, because if someone watches you, they might watch me, or and they watch Tim Talks Talkies, and they watch Kate, because it's all it just feels like a big family. That's something I want to talk about when I do my like 1 year on YouTube videos. Just talk about how cool the community's been. Yeah, that's something that I really like.
yeah, it's been awesome. I didn't anticipate being accepted into all this when I first got into it, but there was a lot of
Me
people
either.
that did accept me into their communities, like Movies and Sue is a big one.
Yeah.
For me, when I first got started, Durant Cinema. First time I seen him comment on a video of mine, I was like, "Holy shit!" I'm like, "I used to
Oh
watch
yeah,
you all the time.
dude. I
This is
mean,
crazy."
you think about how I felt being on the round table. I might have had like 12
Yeah,
subscribers by that point, and after the round table was over, I'm up to like 68. I was
yeah.
riding a high that night, man.
It's
That was
funny
so,
even thinking about it in that way because I'm like, Mark doesn't even want to come on my show.
that
I'm just
was
a
huge
nobody
for
on
me,
YouTube.
dude. That was so huge for me. When you invited me on the round table, I was so excited, dude. I
Yeah,
mean, it was awesome. So
yeah,
people don't forget that kind of thing. When you're just starting out, it makes me want to, if I ever reach that point, I'll try to do the same.
yeah. Absolutely. It's doesn't feel that long ago that I had 100, 200 subscribers. I think it took me a year to get to 100 subscribers. My
I'm
first
up.
year on YouTube, it took me a
Well,
very long time.
I
I
think
wasn't very consistent, but yeah, it took me a while.
I'm at 478 right now, but I also had the distinct honor of not only getting a push from you, but I got a push from Films at Home as well when he had me
Oh
on his
yeah, you were on
podcast.
his show as well.
So I've been very fortunate, and I try not to take that for granted because I know not everyone sort of
Yeah,
gets those opportunities. So yeah,
yeah. But it was funny, you know, when I was first, and I don't know if you can speak to this as well, but you're on Instagram and you got so many thousand followers on there, and it's like, hey, I've got a YouTube channel now, and it's like crickets.
And they're like, cool, man. So does everyone
Nobody
else.
comes over. I used to promote it on there all the time, and
Yeah.
it's like I was sitting at 50 for like 6 months.
Yeah.
So nobody cares to come over from Instagram.
It's a big ask, I think, to get people to
Yeah, because they're there for something totally different.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. And you build up those. I feel like it's not super difficult to get a ton of Instagram followers, because everyone's trying to get each other followers. So it's sort of, you do like a follow for follow thing. Whereas with YouTube, you know, not everyone's in that space. So
I think it's always a big misconception though when you first get into YouTube and say you come from something like Instagram, and it's like, oh, I got all these followers, they're gonna come follow me over on YouTube, and
yeah,
then you start it and you're like surprised that nobody comes over.
yeah.
Because
I
I've heard
kind
it
of
a lot from
expected that.
people. Yeah.
I got my link in my Instagram bio. And then outside of that, I try to keep them kind of separate. I think it's kind of cooler if they sort of function as two different
For
sort
sure.
of things where you can.
That's why I don't ever like I'm not saying it's bad if you do this, but I don't ever put my thumbnails in my, you know, feed anymore. I used to, like back in the day, but
Right.
I try to just put it in my stories and keep it separate.
Yeah, like I'll post, you know, I just went to a convention in Cherry Hill where I live, and I got to meet Heather Langenkamp from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nice. How was she?
She was really cool.
That'd be a surreal experience.
Usually when I go to those sort of conventions, I try to keep it really brief with them. I say, hi, how you doing? How's your weekend going? Because there's so many people. I don't know if you've ever been to a convention like that, but there's a lot of people behind you. And I just try to keep it moving for the sake of the line. Some people don't care, and this is your right. You're spending your money. You've paid to be here. I'm not judging you, but there's a lot of people who will have, 5-10 things they want to get signed, and they're talking the whole time, and it kind of holds up the line a little bit, which is fine. But I don't do that. So, but I post stuff like that on my Instagram, where I don't really post videos. I don't post that on YouTube. I don't take like a vlog of the convention. So it kind of it behooves someone to follow me on both, and you kind of get two different kinds of content. Is kind of the way I look at it. So,
and there's definitely people that do both for sure. I feel like there is something to posting everything you do on all the platforms.
Right.
Because you kind of, I guess, synchronize yourself across all platforms, and
that makes sense.
Maybe
too.
draw more people in. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because when I started my TikTok, I was like, I'm going to do stuff that's only for over here. I don't want to post it on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. But now I'm kind of at the point where I'm trying to post it on all three of them, just because I get the draw of having it on everything, and then kind of casting your net as wide as you possibly can. And I'm trying to do more on Twitter now and post stuff on there. And
Twitter is probably the hardest social media platform to gain any kind of following on, if you ask me.
You just have to be very volatile and
Twitter's
trashy
just,
and
it's just
say the most disgusting things ever.
Saying the most awful things of all time. No, Twitter, I don't know. I enjoy scrolling on Twitter, but posting on there, I don't hardly. I have a Twitter for like a Tales from the Shelf Twitter, but I mostly just use it to look at things that I don't really want on my personal Twitter, which is all just like movie related stuff.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
for sure. What got you into starting your channel and content creation? Yes, we can take it back to Instagram as well. What got you into just wanting to start doing that kind of thing?
I watched a lot of YouTube channels such as yours, Films at Home, and also just stuff that has nothing to do with movies at all, but just video games, everything. I watched a ton of YouTube, and I've always been very opinionated. I like to get my thoughts out there if I feel like I have something to add to the conversation.
Absolutely.
And I feel like most of us are that way. So I would watch these videos, and this isn't to disparage anybody, but I would watch videos and I would say, I could do that. Not to say that what they're doing is easy, because it takes something to put yourself on camera and put yourself out there. But it made me realize that I could do this as well, and I might be able to do it even a little bit better. which is
Yeah.
always cool to be able to set goals for yourself, which is something I wanted to do. I wanted to create, I was inspired to create like video essays and stuff like that. Not all of my videos are sort of in that genre, but that's the stuff I really enjoy making. I think my favorite video that I ever made was the Camp Slashers video, which is just like
I heard you talking about that the other day, KB. I think I missed that one. I need to go back and check it out.
it's my favorite thing that I've made to date on YouTube so far. It's the type of stuff that I want to make more of going forward. So I was obviously inspired by a lot of channels like the ones I named. And then I have a friend of mine who's been my best friend since like second grade. He's very active in, he does a lot of work with like crypto and stuff, but he's very knowledgeable with like Premiere, Photoshop. He's like a videographer. He knows a lot about like shot composition, cameras, mics. Like he was really like, I'm very lucky to have had him because he was very helpful. He was able to help me a lot with showing me how to,
like that.
It's crazy. I mean, and another thing I don't take for granted, I've had a lot of help to get where I am,
I'm still shooting and editing everything on this phone. And it's the
I have
same
this,
damn phone I've been using since 2019 when I started.
That's
the
awesome,
same
dude.
thing.
And that's
Everything I'm doing
another
the same
thing
way.
that people should know is that, look at mid-level media. He's closing in on 20K. He shows all his stuff on his iPhone. You don't need to spend a ton of money on a fancy camera.
That was always my thing. I'm like, I am not breaking the bank and spending thousands of dollars. First off, I couldn't afford it. And, I got a family and a movie addiction. I can't just buy a bunch of camera equipment and stuff.
Yeah.
I do want to get more legitimate at some point because, like you said, I got people that subscribe to me now. I would like to up my quality at some point. It's just
but it's
getting myself out of the rhythm that I'm in now. It's very hard to break the habits that I have and do something completely different way.
It's not like you're doing anything wrong, right? Because obviously it's worked out for you and it's all right there in the name. You said it yourself, mid-level media. This is sort of
the set them up to not expect too much.
Well, not so much that, but just that like you could do this too is kind of the way I interpret it, where it's like you're just like one of us. You're not propping yourself above anybody. Not to say that there's people who do that, but that's the approach, and I think that's really cool and novel, and that's why people sort of connect with it in that way.
Yeah, because I watched when I first got into watching movie content on YouTube, it was very heavily produced stuff like Screen Junkies. And,
that kind of thing.
Chris Stuckman and Collider, which Chris Stuckman's more kind of down to earth, it's smaller channel or whatever. But I watched all the highly produced stuff. They were all in studios and stuff, and it was on YouTube. So it's like I could never do anything like that. But when you get into like the physical media world, and I started watching people like Cole Duder and Wet Movie, and there was this other guy I used to watch, Film Fan 108, and then Durant Cinema, and then I'm seeing Films at Home who just appears to be shooting on his phone. Yeah, and I'm like, I feel like I could do this now because these are just regular people like me that just love movies, talking about movies, going out in stores, hunting for movies. So that was incredibly inspirational for me, getting to see all those people. That just, again, not saying anything negative about them, but just felt like regular people doing this stuff.
Yeah, that's the same way I looked at it. And it is motivational. I hope more people are able to look at stuff like that and kind of and without the help of, because what I was getting at is my friend, me and him would always talk about stuff, and I'd be like, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to make like videos and stuff. I'd have ideas, and he'd be like, dude, he was like, dude, stop talking to me about it and just do it. Like he got really real with me. And he was like, dude, like I would love to keep having these talks with you, but you never actually do it. And I was like, that caused me to stop and be like, oh man, he's kind of right. I need to stop talking about it and be about it. And so around this time last year was when things started to get, the wheels started to move on the channel. And then late October was when the first video came out. So it was kind of a combination of my friend and all the things that have been percolating prior to that, all kind of culminating at that one perfect moment.
It's difficult to put yourself out there like that.
Yeah,
you're putting your face and your thoughts and your opinions on the internet for the entire world to see. Not saying they're all going to watch it.
Yeah,
but it's out there. They could, like whatever video you put out could blow up, and it could get like 100,000 views.
My latest video, I posted it 6 days ago, and it's my most viewed video with just shy of 5,000 views, which is
Nice. What was
huge.
that?
Uh, it's kind of I talk about 4K and whether to buy it or not, and I talk about
Oh yeah, I watched that because I watched a couple of your videos recently.
yeah. So I talk about
That
5
thing's blew
movies that
up
I.
then over the past couple of days, hasn't it?
It was crazy, and I'd love to pick your brain about this too, in here in a second. But I talk about 5 movies that I did upgrade to 4K and why I did, and then I talk about 5 movies that I don't plan to upgrade to 4K and why.
It's a
And
good topic. It's definitely a
you should do it. It would
catchy
be
topic.
yeah, it would be cool. I think you could definitely add something cool to that. But
Yeah.
it's got like 73 comments on it. It was crazy to me because up to then a lot of my videos would get like 200 views or something.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you, did you have that first video early on that like just skyrocketed in views out of seemingly nowhere, and you're like
Yeah.
totally blindsided by it?
I'm trying to remember. There was one because when I first got into this, I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was doing like just movie news stuff
Mhm.
here and there too, kind of incorporated with the physical media stuff. And I think the first one that I did that kind of got to 2,000 and it did it very fast was The Green Knight. They announced the movie The Green Knight, and I was a huge fan of what was the other movie he did? Ghost Story.
Yeah, I haven't
And
seen that, but I really like Green Knight.
wasn't there another one that he did? David Lowery. I don't know.
Um,
I thought it looked really awesome, and I liked the idea behind it. And I got on YouTube and I started talking about it. It was when they first announced, when there was no posters or anything. They just announced the movie, and
oh
then
wow,
that video took off and got like 2,000 views or something. So that's
yeah,
the first one I remember like popping. Um, beyond like the 40, 50 views that I would usually get around that time.
yeah.
Um,
No,
but yeah,
it's
it's weird. Sometimes they'll just, very early doing the physical media report, I would get one that would like soar over 10K or something. And most of them at that time were doing like 800 to 1,000. So
that's interesting.
I had those, moments as well. Cause the first year of me doing the physical media report, I rarely broke 1,000 views. And most of the time it would be like 300 or 400 views. And I was putting just as much time into it. So it was a very slow grind to get to where it is now.
Well, that's
And I'm,
commendable though, because despite the views, you
yeah,
still did it every week, and you still put the same amount of work into it. And
yeah, I had a vision for it. And I was like, when people finally do check this out, I feel like it's, going to be something that people are going to watch more. So,
no, it's
um,
great. I love that. I mean, it's a great series. And like you say in it, it serves to keep people informed in the world of physical media because I'm not checking Blu-ray.com every day or
yeah,
Dawn of the Discs on my Instagram page, but and then there's a lot of these conflicting stories. But then if you just watch the physical media report, it kind of very neatly puts it all in order for you, and you can kind of just this is your one-stop shop. You don't have to go to all these different outlets to kind of because you've done the trouble and done all that for us already. So now you've made it very
yeah,
easy for everyone else, which is what makes it so cool.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, it is weird the stuff that sometimes just videos that I would never expect to do well just do
Yeah.
out of nowhere. And then there's actually a world's biggest collectors episode that I did with Ryan at the Disconnected. That is now, I believe, my most viewed video on this channel.
How many
Um,
views?
it is now currently, I think, at like 24,000.
That's
And
insane.
I've never had a video that's really popped over 20,000. Like I've always, or the past couple of years, I've gotten, good views for my subscriber base.
Right.
But I've never had that video that's like soared to like 50K out of nowhere or something.
That's crazy.
Um, but that one just keeps on going for some reason, and
Yeah,
it just like won't
that's an
stop.
odd one for to be the one that
And I'll reach out to him every now and then. I was like, our video is like 24,000 right now. I was like, that's crazy. He's like,
that's
I guess we
sweet,
need to
dude.
do more stuff together.
Yeah, that's cool,
So
man.
this could be the one that maybe this one goes higher. Maybe this one
Who
goes to like
knows?
30K at some point.
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah.
I don't
So
know.
with that video too, it's weird because it's about 4K and like sort of like more what you and Films at Home kind of do.
It was a you're very good with, organizing your thoughts and laying everything out very coherently. I feel
Thank
like.
you.
So it was a very good video for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, but it's weird because then it makes me feel like, should I start to just do this? Like, because people clearly like it, and it's for me right now, since I'm still so early into this, I don't want to ever find myself kind of like chasing an algorithm. I still
Yeah.
want to keep doing the stuff that is fun for me to do, regardless of whether it performs well or not. So that's just something that I would say to those other people who might be around a similar subscriber count as me, is just kind of don't worry too much about trying to chase like the algorithm, and just kind of do what makes it fun for you. Because I feel like once you lose that,
But that stuff can get in your head because you're like, oh, this did really good.
that's the thing.
I should find something like this to follow up with.
It's sort of like an internal thing. And I still don't know what I'm going to do next. I never really plan that far ahead, especially in the summertime. Like I was saying, it's very busy right now. But yeah, once fall comes, we'll see what happens.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back into some more physical media talk. I was going to get into some collector-based questions to kind of figure out what type of collector you are.
Okay.
Do you buy a lot of, and I know you don't buy a ton of stuff day one anymore, so I'm not going to ask that question. Do you buy a lot of mainstream releases, or are you mostly boutique at this point?
It's all about the movie itself. Yeah. So if it's a special movie to me, kind of regardless of who's putting it out, I'll seek it out and get it. Like after
you still watch quite a bit of new movies and stuff in theaters. And
I do. I try to go. I have Regal Unlimited, and I just went to the movies last night. I saw Last Voyage of the Demeter,
nice.
which was fine. But I've been to the movies like 25 times this year so far. So yeah, I do go to the movies quite a bit. And usually I'll only buy, like, this isn't hard and fast, but if something gets like a 4 stars and above, typically is where I'll be at if I want to own a movie.
Yeah.
Like a movie like Scream 6, I think I gave it like, 3.5. And it's just not a movie I needed to own. I'm not in love with Scream anyway, but things like that. That's kind
now,
of.
Do you have any of the Scream movies in your collection?
I do, and so that's another thing.
Will that not bother you if you ever don't complete them all? You don't care?
I'm not a completionist that way.
I still haven't bought Scream 6 either, because my thought process, I just watched it in the theater. I can wait.
That's another thing. Yeah, it'll go down in sale, in price. That is.
I got too much other stuff to watch.
Exactly. And I just watched it, so I'm not in any rush to rewatch it. Right. So, but yeah, I'm not a completionist. I think I have like the Blu-ray Scream 1, 2, and 3 triple pack with like the 2 documentaries, and that's all I really need. Maybe I'll get Scream 4 someday, but like outside of that, I'm good.
Yeah, I get that. I understand that. Which boutique label is your favorite? Would you say?
Oh, that's tough, man. I think Criterion probably has the most pound for pound, like 4 and 5 star films for me. But aesthetically speaking, I've
a lot of great stuff coming out of Criterion.
Yeah,
I haven't watched yet.
Especially this October coming up. There's a lot of good stuff coming out.
Oh, I cannot wait for the Freaks set.
Yeah, I'm gonna get that. Cool. The others, Don't Look Now, get all those.
Yeah, the others. Don't Look Now is a crazy movie.
I watched that
a couple of years ago. I watched that during October, I think. That movie's nuts. The ending's nuts too.
That'll be a blind buy for me. I'm excited to check that out.
It's gonna look really good on 4K too.
Oh yeah, I'm excited. But yeah, aesthetically, Scream Factory, I really enjoy. They were kind of the early on. Like when I was talking about how early on I got, I just went out and bought a lot of my favorite horror movies. One of the first ones I got was Black Christmas. And I didn't even realize that it was like a boutique Blu-ray thing.
Yeah.
That Blu-ray that Scream did with the black slipcover and like Billy's eye on it and stuff. And I was like, this is really cool artwork. This isn't like, this isn't just some kind of standard bare bones release. And then you notice the Scream Factory logo on the spine, and you start digging around and you find more, and it, like I said, just snowballs from there. So
absolutely.
Probably those two, Criterion and Scream.
Criterion and Scream Factory. Now, what would you What's like your top movie from each label that you want to see them do?
Ooh,
That
that's
you
tough.
dream about them doing every night you fall
Um,
asleep.
you can kind of see this poster right here, Shadow of the Vampire. It's a movie with Willem Dafoe and John Malkovich from 1999, and not a lot of people have heard about it. And
I haven't.
basically,
That's a brand new title for me.
it's awesome, and it only has a DVD. And it's about the filming of Nosferatu, right? But it's sort of told from the perspective of what if F.W. Murnau, who's played by John Malkovich, hired a real vampire to play Nosferatu, and
Oh,
that's what
damn.
that's what you're seeing on screen, played by Willem Dafoe. And
Sounds good.
it's such a good movie, and it's funny and it's eerie, and it mirrors Nosferatu a lot because obviously they're filming the movie, so they recreate a lot of shots from the movie, and it's funny because they're like, wow, he's so in character, he's so method about Willem Dafoe, but he's just a vampire, and it's really funny, and it's a movie I would encourage more people to check out. But it only has a DVD, so I would love to see Scream Factory pick that up. I feel like it's kind of in their wheelhouse
Yeah, I was going
already.
to ask you, would that be a Scream Factory or Criterion? Because that sounds like it could be both.
I feel like it could be both, right? Because it's kind of got that old classic Hollywood with the Nosferatu kind of link, but it's also from the 90s, and I feel like Scream Factory deals in the 90s a little bit more than other people.
Yeah.
I don't know if you feel that way as well, but yeah, honestly,
Yeah, they
I
definitely
can see
do.
either one. I could see Arrow doing it. I could see really anybody doing it.
Yeah, it'd be cool.
So, yeah, that's a big one. Looking at I have a small portion of my shelf that's just DVDs because there is no Blu-ray. So I'm looking around. Maybe like Pool Hall Junkies. That's like an HBO movie. I think Christopher Walken's in it. And what's the other one? Oh, The Cable Guy. We need a new release of The Cable Guy.
Jim Carrey's the cable guy?
Yeah, I feel like that Blu-ray is like out of print and super expensive, isn't it?
Hell yeah, give that to Criterion. I'd take it.
Yeah, so maybe
That'd be
somebody.
a good one for Kino to do, I feel like.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Kino could do the
surprised
cable
actually
guy.
if we see that soon.
Put it in the
That's
Ben Stiller directed line. They did Tropic
yeah.
Thunder, so you could do cable guy.
So that one's kind of cheating because there is technically a Blu-ray, but it's not very accessible. So yeah, I would say
I
those.
didn't know that because I need to buy cable guy, but damn, now you're telling me I can't get it.
Things might have changed, but that was one of the movies that when I first started collecting, you look them up, and you're like, why is this so expensive? And then you learn about things being out of print and like what that even means. Because like before, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, it's on Blu-ray. I can get it anywhere.
Right. You just assume that every movie's on Blu-ray, and you start doing a little digging. And I'm like, oh, cable guy, let me buy that one on Amazon, $15, no problem. And then it's not the case. So
yeah, I was talking about this the other day. I was like, comedies, and we talked about it a little bit earlier. I was like, they really get the short end of the stick when it comes to like nice physical media releases. I wish there was like a comedy line, like a label.
yeah,
and I mean, I know Shout Factory kind of does that a little bit. The Shout Select line,
yeah. Shout
does a lot of comedies.
Shout's interesting because they seem to do a lot of different stuff.
They do a lot of different stuff,
but they do like the Deer Hunter, which is decidedly not a comedy, and
but
then
they
also
do all kinds of different stuff.
They do like Midnight Run, and stuff like that.
They got Dirty Rotten Scoundrels and The Jerk. So I mean, they got
I
a good amount of comedies in there.
I love Shout Select. I think they're an underrated label. I know they're like an offshoot of Scream, I guess, but I really like Shout Select.
It's interesting that they number their line, but they wouldn't number the Scream Factory stuff. Like I don't.
It's interesting for sure. But it helps them stand out.
Yeah, it does. It does. But I just wish there was something like Arrow Video or Criterion or Scream Factory that did like real nice, proper releases of comedies.
Yeah,
back in the day.
You think about like the Dario Argento Arrow Video big box sets, and it's like,
yeah, I want that for The Mask.
Yeah,
Jim Carrey, dude, like that would be incredible if we got stuff like that. Like that would really get me excited because that would take me right back to my childhood. Jim Carrey, Adam Sandler comedies.
Dude, The Mask used to terrify me when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
I was
The
born in
villain was
94.
scary as hell.
Oh my god, terrifying.
Mhm.
That movie used to scare the shit out of me. I still to this day, if I told you I've seen it, I would feel like I was lying because I really don't remember a ton about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one used to terrify me. That came out right when I was born. That and Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura, right, was all 94.
Yeah, that was a hell of a year for Jim Carrey.
Yeah, yeah,
All in the same year.
yeah. So I
Yeah,
kind
that
of
movie introduced the world to Cameron Diaz. And it was at that point that
man,
I knew 100% I was into girls at
dude.
9 years old.
I've seen. Yeah, she might be the most attractive woman on the planet in that film. Second to Rachel Weisz in The Mummy.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
I would
I'm
say
right there
those
with you on
two
that.
are
Yeah.
pretty neck and neck for me.
Yeah, I love Rachel Weisz. She's such a good actress too.
She's great, man.
She doesn't get enough good roles to shine. I loved her in The Favorites. Thought she was like the standout of that movie.
I still
for
have
me.
to see that.
It's a good one. It's a good
I
one.
have to see that.
Let's see. Are you more of a steelbook guy? Or are you a slipcover guy? What's your preference? I don't see you doing a lot of steelbooks. You get a lot of steelbooks?
So when I was first getting into it, I had this idea that like steelbooks were like super top of the line, like the best kind of release that you could get. Just because I don't know, I just had this weird idea in my head that like because it was a steelbook, it was like this super premium packaging, which it is to an extent. But I prioritized it more, I think, back then because it was still kind of new to me. But as time's gone by, it really depends on the movie, depends on the art. If I really love the art, then I'll buy it. Packaging, I love packaging. Don't get me wrong, but I'm never gonna like buy something for packaging, or like prioritize it over the steelbook is gonna be more expensive, right? So
yeah,
if I don't care either way about the art, I'll just get the slipcover because it's cheaper and it's kind of the same thing. So
yeah. So it doesn't bother you, either way to have a bunch of steelbooks, in unison, or you can go either way.
Yeah, I kind of go either way. I'm not really loyal.
Like,
to
say if you're, I don't know if you collect Marvel movies, but like if you're collected all the steelbooks for all the Marvel movies, it's not going to hurt you to get a slipcover for one of them.
No, but it would bother me like right now with like Mission Impossible. I have like Ghost Protocol on a steelbook. And then I have like Fallout on just a regular slipcover, and like that kind of thing kind of bothers me. Where if it's in if maybe it's in a franchise, I'd like them all to be consistent. But ultimately, again, it doesn't bother me like too much. I'm just at a point now where, like I would never upgrade something. Like say I had a steelbook or a slipcover that I wanted to get in a steelbook. It just doesn't bother me anymore. So I just kind of I just roll with it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I kind of when I first got into steelbooks, it just had to be one I really liked.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I was good getting the cheaper version.
Like certain ones are really like the House of the Dragon 4K season 1.
Yeah.
I really liked the show, and I thought the steelbook looked awesome. Plus, it has like the 1 on the spine. So when they make season 2, they'll have the 2 on that spine, and like
yeah, I need to pick that up. I didn't pick that up. Again, I'm weird with TV shows. It's like it's on HBO. I don't need to pick it up. But it's like, why don't I feel that way about movies?
That's my thinking with a lot of stuff. Movies.
I just feel like there's time, I guess.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. I can watch it there for.
Yeah, hope not. HBO. You would think they wouldn't take freaking Game of Thrones show off, but who knows?
It's not likely, but I mean, nothing's promised right now. Especially, they might decide tomorrow something in Game of Thrones is offensive and they'll cut it out, and then you'll wish that you had the DVD or something. So,
yeah, I don't even have all the original series. I think I got like the first few seasons on Blu-ray. But
every time like Prime Day comes around, they always have it on there. The whole Game of Thrones, and every year I'm like, oh, I'll get it this year, and then it's like, it's on HBO.
Oh, you don't have it either?
No, I don't own it either.
Okay.
No,
Yeah, I need to grab that 4K set because sometimes it'll get low. It'll be like 80, $90 or something. I'm
yeah,
like, I
it's
just need to
gotten
grab
very
it.
affordable, but even still, I don't pull the trigger because I'm like, I could spend this money right now, but first of all, I'm not even in the middle of a rewatch, so it would just be to have it, and you know.
Yeah,
But in the meantime, it's on HBO, so I just don't feel incentivized.
yeah.
But then again, I bought House of the Dragon, so it's hard to pin down your habits sometimes. You might think
Also,
that
Dragon was so good though.
that's the thing. Like I really like that show, but you might think you do something a certain way, and then something can come out, and you'll be in the store, and you're like,
I don't I don't
you
need it.
totally change it up.
I don't
It
need it.
changes all the time. So
It does. It absolutely does. Do you do a lot of blind buying, or do you mostly buy stuff that you know that you like?
now I don't blind buy a ton, but before I was doing it all the time. Um, my favorite thing to do was anytime Kino would have a sale, I would browse their selection, and I would mostly prioritize the horror movies from Kino because they have really good stuff there. And I found really good gems on Kino, and I would just have a ton of fun like reading the synopsises of these obscure movies. I'd go on like Letterboxd, kind of see if it has like a 3.0 or above, would kind of help me decide if I should get it or not. If it's like a
Yeah.
2.5 or something, excuse me. If it's like a 2.5, probably don't touch it. But I would have a blast just like filling my cart with like 8 movies that had interesting descriptions. And I've found some really cool movies that way. So
And
Kino,
8 movies from Kino during the sale, you can get out of there for like, $70 or
it's
something.
insane. And so like it was fun for me to be like, oh, this isn't much of an investment. You buy 8 movies during the Criterion sale, you're in for like $200 or something. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and nothing against Criterion, they're totally different. But yeah, nowadays, like I was saying, I'll blind buy Don't Look Now because that's a movie that I've heard a little bit about, and it's something I'm interested in seeing. And it's coming to 4K from Criterion, so like all those factors will help sway me to blind buy it, and I don't think I'll regret it.
If you like those kind of, slower burn horror films, with the
Yeah, which
real
I would say,
70s aesthetic,
yeah,
it was made in the 70s and it really feels like that.
yeah. So
You'll
blind
like
buying, it varies. If I'm out in person and I find something, I'm more likely to blind buy it, I think, versus shopping online too. That's a factor as well. So
yeah, absolutely. Do you do a lot of thrifting still? Do you try to go to your local thrifting stores, and
yeah,
do you
I
have any
try.
good Goodwills around you that actually have Blu-rays?
Yeah, Goodwills in my area aren't really that great. They're all super disorganized, and I haven't had historically a ton of good luck with Goodwill. There is this huge antique store down the street from me that's like massive. You could lose yourself in there, and it's all just like different booths and stuff. And it's not physical media focused, but there are small sections of it that have like VHS tapes. I found some really cool tapes there. Look, I got one right here. I found this Evil Dead 2 sort of hard box
Nice.
clamshell VHS. So
So you are still buying, VHSs. You do it
very
mostly
infrequently,
just for
very
the
infrequently.
aesthetic of it.
Yeah, I like owning them, but it's a small section of my collection, pretty much limited to underneath my desk here. But I pretty much only buy horror movies on VHS. And there's something fun about just finding something in a thrift store and maybe getting it for a good price.
Yeah.
So even if I
Totally.
never really find a lot, I really enjoy like just looking around and trying to find stuff.
Yep, for sure.
So
Do you buy mostly Blu-ray now? Are you pretty much, if something comes out and you don't own it and it has a 4K, do you buy the 4K, or do you
yes,
still okay, so if you don't have it at all and there's no question of upgrading,
yeah, yeah,
you just go ahead and get it. Get the
yeah.
4K.
If it's a movie I don't own but I want to own, and there's no question that I want to own it, I'll go 4K all day long. I
Okay.
won't go for unless there are exceptions where, like Evil Dead Rise just came out this year, and with a movie like that, that's modern, right? So I'm not talking about like what's the word for this? Legacy titles, I guess you would say. So
Yeah.
a movie like that, I'm good with just the Blu-ray. And especially in the case of that movie, on release, it was like $29 or $27 for the 4K, and the Blu-ray was like $20. It was a wider margin than it normally is.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not always quite as big. Like in most cases, it's like a difference of like $3, but it was different for that. So with those factors in mind, I went Blu-ray on that. But had the 4K been a little cheaper, I might have gotten the 4K because I did like the 4K logo with that one.
Yeah.
But it all depends. If it's an older movie that I don't own, I'll go 4K. So
makes sense. Makes
yeah.
sense. And you don't do you still buy DVDs from time to time, stuff that maybe doesn't have a Blu-ray?
A lot of the time it's just shows, like TV shows that don't have a Blu-ray at all, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer only has a DVD. Like stuff like that. I think the Louis CK show is only on like DVD. So stuff like that, mostly shows. And then I feel like I've got all the DVDs I'm ever going to get. I have like Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. I don't know I don't know if that has a Blu-ray or not. So stuff like that. I was looking at The New Guy. You ever see The New Guy with?
I love that movie.
Yeah, it only
I don't have it though. I think I used to have it on DVD.
It's only got a. I was just on eBay like last week looking it up. It's only got a DVD. So like that's a movie that I would probably buy on DVD.
Damn,
if I
who owns that?
It.
Fucking Disney, probably.
Probably, but like I love that movie. So like that's one that like imagine if
I used to have that damn thing.
Imagine Vinegar Syndrome did a New Guy Blu-ray.
That's what I'm talking about, dude. There's so many like comedies, not just from the 90s, but like the 2000s, like The New Guy. That just feels like they're lost in time.
It's so funny. It still makes me laugh.
So many movies like that they could do like a special edition of.
Yeah, they really could.
Do they really need to do like a $40-$50 special edition of The New Guy?
No.
But it would make me happy as hell to buy it.
I'm in it for 25 or 30.
Yeah, you could get it on a sale.
Yeah.
You know, whatever new label when they have a sale.
So it's movies like that I buy on DVD for the most part.
Yeah, that's why I'm honestly kind of disappointed at the year that Vinegar Syndrome was having, just because I feel like they set me up to expect movies like that.
Yeah.
After they gave us like Roadhouse, and I'm not saying Roadhouse is like The New Guy, but
yeah, but
you started to see like non-horror stuff.
Yeah.
And then they did Sidekicks, and I was like, oh damn, they can do Three Ninjas, Surf Ninjas, like all these movies I watched when I was a kid that don't have like good proper releases.
Right.
And maybe they still will, but it's just
they still could. Yeah, anything could happen. I feel like so much of that is like all tied up with like licenses and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sure that I don't know who owns Three Ninjas and stuff, but
right.
I bet if I look up The New Guy right now, I bet Disney has something to do with it.
Yeah, after this, I'm gonna look it up as well, and we can find out.
Warner Brothers.
Find out who to write an email.
They're the secondary culprits usually.
Yeah,
Warner Brothers.
Not Paramount. If it was Paramount, there'd be a Blu-ray of it.
Nah, we'd have it. We'd have 5 editions of it, and then they would put it out on 4K in 2 months.
Yep, right after the Blu-ray.
But you know what? How do you feel about that? Because I'm of 2 minds of it. It's kind of shitty thing to do sometimes when you put a Blu-ray out. Universal's doing it too right now with Cocaine Bear and
what's the other
Megan
one?
And Black Phone. They're all getting 4Ks.
That's good. Black Phone.
After they did the Blu-rays, but to me, I would rather have a company that is dedicated to physical media and still puts out physical media release. I just don't get as mad at that kind of stuff. At least they're giving us physical media.
No, they're giving you options, which is something that certain companies don't do. Ideally,
I would kill to have that problem with some Disney releases.
Exactly. So it's all about perspective. Ideally, you'd like the Blu-ray and the 4K to come out on the same time, but for whatever reason, they don't deem it, I guess, worthy or financially, viable to do it that way. So
now I really hate it when they do the one thing that does kind of anger me a little bit when they do the 4K box set and then 6 months later they'll do nice Steelbooks like they did with The Godfather. Because I would have wanted to get those Steelbooks. With Star Trek, what they did was a little shady. The first 4 in a box set, and then a year later, they all got standalone slipcovers, and now we got the other 2 in a box set as well.
Yeah, that's interesting too. I mean, is like 5 and 6 owned by like some different studio or something, and maybe they couldn't? I don't
And I
know.
think they're getting ready to do the same thing with Rocky because they did Rocky 1 through 4, and I think they're going to put out a definitive Rocky Creed collection at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
don't know. Who can say really? I wanted to get that Indiana Jones 4K box set, the white
yeah,
one.
they did that with that too.
Yeah.
Steelbooks like a year later.
And then they have slipcovers too, which I did just buy the individual releases with the slipcovers. And I actually think I saved a little bit of money because I didn't get Crystal Skull. So
Yeah,
I got those three. But yeah, I mean, it's for me, if I already buy that first release and then down the line you put out all this different stuff, you're not getting any more of my money because I already have these. And with the way
yeah,
I am, I just can't justify like getting. I would have to get rid of that other copy.
yeah,
For me, this is all just me I'm talking about. But if unless it's a super favorite of mine, I can't really justify. And it actually kind of bothers me to have multiple copies of the same movie because it's like, why do I have both? I can only
yeah,
watch one. When the time comes to watch one, I'm gonna
for
go
sure.
with this one. So what's this one doing over here?
Yeah. You start to
Again,
get into the
that's me.
whole, it's purely a card collection at that point that you're not
Yeah,
doing anything with.
yeah. So it's like I'll look at it like
It's
maybe I
purely aesthetics, just collectible.
exactly. I'm
Yeah.
like I look at it like maybe I could recoup some money on my investment and like sell off the old copy or something. But I can't unless it's like Halloween or The
Yeah.
Thing. I'm getting rid of the other copy. So
Yeah. Yeah, I really had to restrain myself on the Godfather Steelbooks and the Indiana Jones. I almost got them, but I did not get either one because I already had the box set. So that's still the only versions that I have is
yeah.
the box sets. I never got any of
And
the
it's hard too because
different ones.
those all those steelbooks, Godfather and Indiana Jones, were pretty beautiful. If I
I just
remember,
feel bad for the people that bought the Indiana Jones Steelbook box set when it came out because those Steelbooks were not so great. And then they
no, they're
did
really
those
weird,
nice
aren't they?
Steelbooks. I
Just
was
all
like,
white with like some stuff from the movies on them.
yeah,
Those were weird.
yeah, for sure. Well, Mark, what other things do you like to collect besides movies? What other stuff are you into?
So movies will always be the main thing, but like I said, I collect a lot of books, a lot of Stephen King. I collect vinyl records. I have a small collection of vinyl. With vinyl, it's difficult to justify buying vinyl a lot of the time because
Yeah,
I listen to music on my phone a lot and Spotify, which is something
yeah,
that I pay every month for. So unless it's like a super favorite album of mine, I don't really buy it on vinyl. I'm pretty selective about the vinyl. Um, and then I have like a small snow globe collection. Anytime friends or family go somewhere, like I have one from Paris and Jamaica, and like they know I collect them, so they'll bring me one back, which is kind of fun. I've got a little collection over on my desk over here.
nice,
Um,
nice.
but yeah, I would say those are the big things: is books, vinyl, and movies. Oh, and video games too.
I was gonna say, do you still have a lot of your video games, or are you the same way with those as you are? They don't do as many upgrades with video games. There are some that are
No,
getting remade, but it's not as frequent.
they're all digital now though.
Yeah.
If they do re-release them, no,
Are
I
you
have.
okay with like doing games digitally? Because I got to a spot where I was just fine downloading games
Yes, I'm
instead of
fine
buying
with
them
it.
physically. I don't know why I'm that way with games, and for
Yeah, I
some
don't
reason with
care anymore.
movies I care.
I have like a
Um,
2 terabyte hard drive for my Xbox, so like I can download 100 games at once if I want
yeah,
to, and I honestly like it. I like how easy it is to just you have it all downloaded and you can play any one at once. And I think
yeah,
it's weird because with movies I don't like that. Like I like having to go to the shelf and pick one off, but with games I like
no,
having them
fair.
like all digitally available at the like a streaming service essentially.
Yeah.
So
Do
yeah,
you
I'm fine with that.
do you still have a lot of your physical games from back in the day?
Yeah, I have over here. You can't see it, but I have all my GameCube games and stuff. A lot of PS2. GameCube games are very expensive now.
Yeah,
In
that was
2020
like
with
the
COVID.
one system I didn't collect for, so or I
Yeah,
didn't own, so I didn't.
it's
I think I've
crazy.
got one GameCube game, and it's Mario Sunshine. Somebody gave it to
That one's probably worth about $60, which is crazy because that's like retail for a
me. Yeah,
modern game, and a used copy of that game will go for $60. So,
yeah.
yeah, I like my GameCube collection. I've sold a few of them off, the more pricey ones, but I still have a large chunk of them. So
Sure. Cool. Um, let's see. What do you like the most about collecting?
most thing I like most. I like when I have people come over and because you and I, we're kind of like numb to our own collection. Like when we walk into our room and we see them all, it's just another day at the office. But when you have your friend come over and you get to see the joy on their face if they appreciate movies, hopefully they do. When they clap eyes on your collection and they're like, "Oh my God, look at all this stuff." And you get to be like, "Yeah, check out this cool release," and you got this one, and it's like, "Oh, you like this movie? I got that one right here." That's I think the most validating part of it is when you get to share it with somebody else who appreciates it as much as you do. Because not a lot of people have what you and I have, like in our room. Me to a smaller extent, but still.
I still haven't had that moment though.
It's hard
because
we're
my
a dying
wife
breed.
and kids don't care
Yeah,
at
right.
all.
That's
Even my son, when his friends came over one time, I'll try to I got all the movies you could ever want in there, all kinds of stuff. Go pick something out, and they just
they're
walk
like,
in
I
there,
don't care.
I don't care about this stuff.
They're like, yeah,
I'll
man,
watch
cool.
something on Netflix.
You got Fortnite or whatever, I don't know, whatever they're into.
And it's like my family, if they come over for like Christmas or something, they know I collect movies and stuff. But if they ever come down here, it's just like they walk in, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I've never had that moment where somebody's walked in like, oh my God, this is awesome.
Right.
Never had that.
Dude,
have it online, maybe. Be like, oh, you have a great collection. Maybe they type it out. That's it.
That's a big thing, right? Is getting that validation, because then I feel like this was all worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All the money that you spend. But yeah, I think that would probably be it. Just getting to share it. And sometimes my brother-in-law will ask me like, hey, my nephews are watching the Into the Spider-Verse. You have that one? Or like, no, we're gonna rent it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
I got it. And
I'm like, go rent it. 4K. I have it. Yeah. I'm like, I'll let you borrow the Blu-ray. You don't have to spend money. Like, I got it.
I had that moment happen with my father-in-law. He was like, do you have American Made? I think it was that movie with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I said, I think I do. And then I looked, I was like, damn it, I don't. I'm sorry.
Oh, isn't that the worst? I thought you were the movie guy. You don't have
5,000 movies, but I don't have the one you need. Sorry.
That's hilarious, man. Yeah. I like that part of my collection.
What do you like the least?
What do I like the least? Having to decide what to get and what not to get. Because it is tempting as hell. Like, I'm pretty disciplined, I would say, but there are things that come out every single day that test my resolve. That Exorcist 4K, like, I do want to get it, but I already own a Blu-ray Steelbook.
Yeah.
And with that movie, I know it's a great movie. I love that movie. I know it's your favorite horror film. But all that being said, I just can't. It's not Halloween for me, which is a movie that I'll buy any release of. But
I went way too crazy on The Exorcist. I impulse bought that UK version.
Oh, the big one with all the stuff.
And it was before they announced the Best Buy Steelbook. And then when they announced that, I got that. Or actually, no, that sold out quick, and I had to wait a couple of weeks till they put it back in stock.
Yeah, but for you, that's my Halloween for you. So it's like, I would not judge anybody for that. You're well within your rights as a collector to do.
But I would also do the same thing for Halloween because I love it too.
Well, we all have we all have those. So sometimes we have more than one, and that's fine.
No, I feel like at this point I'm probably good on Halloween. I got the 4K that the Lionsgate put out. I got the Scream Factory 4K. I got a couple of 4K Steelbooks.
The Fall Leaves one. You know the one?
This one.
Yes,
that's the one you're talking about.
That's my favorite release, I think.
Yeah, this was one when it came out. I didn't like it, so I didn't get it. But then it popped up again later on down the line. And I was like, why did I not get this? It looks awesome. And then I got it.
Nah, right away I was into that. I have the Scream Factory one. I have like the 35th anniversary Blu-ray.
Yeah, I've got my Blockbuster VHS tape. I
have mine here too.
My Anchor Bay DVD with the 6 extra minutes of footage.
Yep.
So I'm good on Halloween for a while.
Yeah, I'm probably good on it as well. I feel like they've run out of possibilities to release it.
I feel like maybe if they still got the rights to do it, maybe Screen Factory will do a steelbook of it, a 4K steelbook of it at some point. Like,
Ooh,
why
that's
wouldn't you? It would
yeah.
sell.
No, it would. I mean, if you have the rights and it's Halloween, put it out.
But
It'll
I don't
sell.
ever need another Halloween 2 steelbook because this is the best that it gets right
I
here.
wish I had that.
I don't think it gets any better than that. I found this at FYE for $18.
Yeah, those were pretty new when I was getting into collecting that and the Halloween 3 one.
Yeah, yeah, I got that one too.
I just have the standard Halloween 2 Scream Factory Blu-ray, but mine is signed by Dick Warlock, who I also got to meet.
Oh, damn, that's better than 4K then.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Really better than 4K.
So he was cool. He's old, but he's very talkative.
Yeah, that's actually my favorite Halloween movie.
I know. I forget what I was watching, but you were talking about that. It might have been one of the roundtables, but
well, I see the first one and the second one as like one movie because I always watch them together, and I just like the second half of that movie. So I'm like, I guess the second one's my favorite.
Halloween 2, it's probably my second favorite, behind the first one.
I love it.
Yeah, but they're both great.
Yeah, they're both great. I mean, it's together. They're both like the perfect Halloween horror movie.
Yeah, for sure.
I watch them every year. Well, the last couple of years I haven't. I used to watch them like religiously every single Halloween.
Yeah.
But the past couple I've done something different. I think one year I watched Paranormal Activity 1 and 2 or something.
I'm looking forward to watching all the Halloweens soon here.
Are you going to watch every single one of them?
Yeah, I think I'm going to do it this year in October.
All through October?
Yeah, because it's been a while.
Just stop at Resurrection. Forget the rest of it happened.
I might stop at 5. I don't know. We'll see how far I get.
As much as like Curse or H2O?
Dude, as much as I love that first film, I think the Halloween franchise, very spotty. Great. There's more bad movies than good ones, if you ask me.
It is spotty. Whereas Friday the 13th, all bangers.
That is my favorite because that's the most consistent franchise.
It is.
Quality-wise, the first 6 movies are all super solid. And then after that, they're still fun to be had, but it definitely goes downhill.
I love Manhattan and Jason Goes to Hell. I love them.
Manhattan is... People trash Manhattan, but it is still... it's so watched.
I don't care what they say. I like the boat ride. That's the best part of the movie to me.
It's awesome.
So claustrophobic.
Yeah.
You're trapped on a boat with fucking Jason. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Honestly, they should have maybe leaned more heavily into that. Don't even go to New York. Stay on the boat.
I love pretty much all the Nightmare movies too.
Same.
I know that can get pretty spotty for some people, but for me, I got way too much nostalgia with all of them. It was actually the second one that I hated for the longest time because it had nothing to do with any of the other ones, and it just pissed me off. So I would avoid it. But now it's growing on me as I get older, and I always appreciated the opening. I think it's like one of the scariest scenes in the entire franchise.
It's so memorable.
As awesome as the pool scene is, it angered me when I was a kid and I watched it. I was like, how is he out in the real world? It doesn't make any sense. This is stupid.
I always kind of looked at it like, yeah, now it doesn't make sense because we have all the movies, but at that time, there wasn't really a set hard and fast lore. This is only the second movie, so I would
go 1, 3, 4. I skipped 2 all the time when I was doing the rewatch. I didn't like it as much.
Because 1, 3, and onwards kind of feel more in like 2 is definitely probably the black sheep, but it's still my favorite.
It's having its resurgence, so I feel like it gets more respect now, and it's definitely grown on me more over the years. I appreciate it, but
people have come around on it more. That was the one that I watched the most as a kid. I think it was the first one I ever saw, and it gave me nightmares. The dog at the end with like the
that is freaky.
That terrified me, dude. I had nightmares about that.
Some good stuff in that movie. Freddy was never more scary than in the first and the second movies.
For sure.
But Mark, we'll get into a couple of closing questions and then I'll let you out of here. And we'll we'll end on why is physical media important to you, owning movies physically? What is it about that drives you to continue to collect in the age of streaming?
Yeah, there's so many factors, man. It's hard to say. I feel like the further we get in, as days and years and months go by, we kind of are moving away from physical media, and I just feel like it's important that we just hold on to it, and if it's important to you, just hold on to it, and don't ever just streaming is meant to be like a tool, and like you use it in conjunction with physical media. Like I do both, so I think everyone does both. But I just love like the tactile collecting, being able to walk into a room and seeing stuff. Like when you walk into a room and you just have like your TV and you're streaming, it doesn't really, it doesn't draw out the same emotions in you that like, that my Halloween VHS does, because, this is going to continue to get more and more rare, I think, as time goes by. Not in terms of like how much it's worth, but people don't prioritize stuff like that anymore, and the unspecialized versions of Star Wars will always be important to have, because that movie's been altered, and you start getting into like altering stuff and censorship, and it's just such a there's no really hard and fast answer. It's an amalgam of a ton of different factors for me. So yeah.
Do you feel like physical media will ever have a resurgence as more people wise up to, stuff can just be taken off of streaming services or canceled, never to be seen from again, and people altering movies, and then you get into this whole like AI debate that everybody's in right now.
Oh God, yeah.
What's real, what's not real, and then the streaming services are basically taking your information and your identity and figuring you out and what you enjoy.
Yeah,
That could be a little freaky to people.
That could
you feel like
invasive.
that'll push people back towards, collecting stuff or buying the movies they love, at least?
I don't think on like a wide scale it could ever be like a total paradigm shift where everyone who watches streaming now is now going out to like Walmarts and Best Buys trying to like fill out a collection.
Yeah.
But that being said, I could see people becoming disillusioned with the way streaming goes and having to have all these different streaming services. But I think if you don't have that like collector gene in you, which is what you and I and everybody watching this has, you're not going to be, if you don't find that important, you're not going to prioritize it, right? So you've already got to be into it.
It's the younger generation that we have to capture. The people
pretty
nowadays
much everybody,
don't really matter.
Yeah, everybody born after the year 2000 is not, because they're not old enough to remember having VHS tapes, or maybe they are, but I feel like the further we get away from that, the less people are going to remember stuff or even have any lived experience with that at all. You think about 20 years from now, their memories, the way my memories of being traumatized by Michael Myers as a kid, their memories are going to be of watching things on streaming. They don't have a tactile
Stranger Things, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have that association with a physical item and an artwork to accompany it the way that we will. So I think it's really going to be an interesting conversation we're going to be having 20 years from now, as far as who's collecting. It's going to be mostly older people, I think.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It's definitely that's a scary. I'm not saying it's a scary thing overall, because you should always embrace the future and things change, and that's just kind of the natural way of things. But for people like us, it sounds very scary to be in the future without this kind of stuff, and everything being streaming, everything being uploaded, because we're physical beings, and it's like, if we're physical, then the stuff that we own and experience should also be physical, right? You would think, mostly, but it feels like as we progress in the future, are we heading to a point where there will not be physical people? Are we truly going to go into the Matrix?
It's weird to think about, man.
Because that's the way things feel like they're heading, and people just thinking it's okay to create shows artificially and movies artificially. And
it's weird.
That's some scary ass Black Mirror shit right there.
All that stuff is so weird. I try not to think about it because it just bums me out.
There's people that just think that's perfectly acceptable and fine because they're
I worry that it might be the majority of people too as time goes by. Hopefully not. I'd like to have more faith in humankind, but
yeah, because I mean, we're always going to be, mankind's always going to be physical.
yeah,
Until it's not, I guess. But
we have a romanticized affiliation with stuff like this. Yeah. So what are my nephew who's 7 years old? What's his romanticized when he thinks back on his childhood? You know, because that's kind of how I think about it. Is like, what's his connection? Like his Nintendo Switch. I guess it's kind of the same as my N64, but like, you know, I think about like movies and stuff. He never got to go to a Blockbuster. He's never seen the inside of a Blockbuster. So it's like, I don't know. We're definitely heading in a different direction, and I don't know that it's necessarily good or bad. It's just different, and it's not what we like. So I tend to think of it automatically as like concerning based on that.
Yeah, I think, you know, books are very important because those seem to seem to stand the test of time, you know, for centuries. So
yeah, books aren't going anywhere,
and they'll be the only thing that's a physical thing that people hold and read moving into the future, where everything else is streaming.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I think about this stuff often, so I just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on it.
It is interesting to talk about, man, because everything is changing so rapidly, even in the physical media landscape today. So,
because I don't think it's, like you said, as simple as, oh, everybody's just going to switch back to physical media. People get in habits, and it's very hard to change people's habits. And
exactly.
A lot of people think to themselves, who cares? It's just one movie or two movies, or
right.
Even if it's 100 movies, I don't care. I won't watch that movie again anyway. Yeah. Or it's just not that important to them.
That's the thing, right? If it's not important to you, if you're not, you know, like in my friend circles, people consider me, they think of me as like the movie guy. So, you know, people probably think of you as the same. And so, but we're not the majority of people. You know, people don't watch 200 movies in a year. You know, some people might go to the theater. Most people go to the theater like, you know, maybe once a year, if not, you know, two. So we are in a minority of the population, but we're very vocal and we're very passionate about it. So I think that's, you know, that counts for something.
Yeah, for sure, man. But look, I appreciate you coming on and having this conversation with me. World's Biggest Collectors, episode 57. We're almost to 60 of these things. So I appreciate it, Mark. Again, I will have all of your links down below in the description. I definitely encourage everybody to go subscribe and follow. Are you on any other social media platforms?
So yeah, Instagram and YouTube are the big ones. If you like, you can follow me on Letterboxd and see what I'm watching.
Okay, you're on Letterboxd as well. Cool.
I'm very active on Letterboxd. Anytime I watch a movie, I'm conditioned now to log it as soon as I've finished watching it. So
you need to get to that point. Every time I try to do that, I always forget. If I miss one movie, I'm just done.
Right, because it throws everything off. Yeah, it throws it off. Yeah, no, follow me on all those. Yeah, YouTube, Letterboxd, and Instagram.
Awesome. And I will, try my best to link everything down below in the description. I'll definitely have your YouTube and your Instagram down there.
Yeah, that's fine. They can probably find my Letterboxd. I'm sorry. They could probably find my Letterboxd from the Instagram. So one can take them to the other. So you don't have to link them all.
But definitely go subscribe to Mark. I predict great things coming out of Tales from the Shelf in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But thank you all for watching. Hit the like button. Leave us a comment if you have anything to say about the stuff that we talked about in today's episode. Subscribe, like, all that good YouTube stuff. We'll see you guys later.